It was almost midnight when Claire heard the knock. She froze, heart pounding. Her daughter, Lily, just 6, was asleep in the bedroom, wrapped in layers to fight the drafty chill. The old space heater buzzed softly. Claire peeked through the peephole. A man stood on the porch, soaked, shivering, and holding a bleeding arm. Behind him, a black car lay skewed in the snowy ditch. She should have called the cops. Should have slammed the door. But something in his eyes, exhaustion, maybe fear, made her pause. "Please," he said. "I crashed. Just need to stay dry until morning." Claire hesitated. She had nothing extra to give. No spare bed. No money. Barely enough food. But kindness? That, she still had. "Okay," she whispered. "One night. Couch only." She gave him a towel, an old sweatshirt, and some lukewarm soup. He barely spoke, just thanked her quietly, and winced as she cleaned his cut. He never gave his full name. Just said, "Matt." Later, when he'd fallen asleep on the couch, Claire sat by the sink, sipping tea made from a reused bag, wondering if she'd made a mistake. But deep down, she knew she hadn't. She'd taught Lily to help people, even when you had little. Especially then. What Claire didn't know was that the stranger under her roof, the man with haunted eyes and silent grief, was about to change her life. And hers, his. By morning, the snow had stopped, but the man, Matt, was still there, asleep under Lily's favorite cartoon blanket. Claire tiptoed through the small kitchen, pouring cereal and packing her daughter's tiny school bag. Lily rubbed her eyes and blinked. "Mommy, who's that?" "Just someone who needed help," Claire said gently. "He'll be gone soon." Matt stirred and slowly sat up. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to overstay. I really appreciate it." Most people would have slammed the door. Claire offered a tired smile. "I've had doors slammed in my face before. Didn't feel good." He looked around at the tiny apartment, the mismatched furniture, the handwritten calendar, the coupon book on the table. Then he looked at her. Not with pity. With something else. Respect. "I can call a tow truck," Claire offered. "There's a small shop nearby." Matt nodded. "I'll arrange it from my phone. Signal must be back now." She turned to make coffee, but Matt hesitated. "Claire, may I ask? You've got such a kind heart. What do you do?" She chuckled softly. "Right now? I do a bit of everything. Temp work. Deliveries. Cleaning. Whatever pays. I used to dream of being a counselor. Life had other plans." He nodded slowly, like he was memorizing her every word. After breakfast, he was gone. No name, no business card. Just a folded $100 bill left beneath Lily's crayon drawing of a rainbow with the words, "Be kind anyway." Claire stared at it, confused, grateful, and unsure if she'd ever see him again. She had no idea that Matt wasn't just some lost traveler. He was the incoming CEO of one of the biggest companies in the state. And he hadn't just seen kindness in her. He'd seen potential. 3 days later, Claire received an email that nearly made her drop her phone. Subject, interview invitation, Northbridge Corporation. She blinked. Northbridge? That was one of the biggest firms in the city. She'd applied months ago for a basic admin role, never heard back. Now, suddenly, she was invited to meet the new CEO. She borrowed her neighbor's blazer, dropped Lily off with a friend, and caught 2 buses across town. The glass building loomed above her like a mountain, sleek, modern, intimidating. Claire almost turned back. Inside, the receptionist smiled. "Claire Bennett? Mr. Steele will see you now." Claire's stomach flipped. Steele. That name rang a bell. When she stepped into the office, her breath caught. There he was, standing behind the desk in a sharp suit. "Matt." He smiled gently. "I believe we've met." She stared, speechless. You're the CEO?" "I wasn't lying," he said. "I'd crashed that night. But I also wanted to see who people are, when no one's watching." Claire sank into the chair, heart racing. "I never forgot your kindness," he continued. "You had nothing, yet you gave. That speaks louder than any resume. We need people like you." She began, but he held up a hand. "You're not just anything. You're everything this company claims to stand for." Then he slid an envelope across the desk. "Full-time position. Salary. Healthcare. Childcare support. And training. If you'll let me invest in you, the way you invested in me." Tears welled in her eyes. She had no powerful network. No fancy degree. But she had one thing the CEO couldn't ignore, a good heart. And now, finally, someone was opening a door for her. Claire's first day at Northbridge felt like a dream she wasn't supposed to have. Her new office was modest but bright, with a small desk and a window view she could never have imagined. The team welcomed her warmly, and daycare for Lily, just a few floors down, meant she could focus, knowing her daughter was safe and happy. The role wasn't glamorous. Organizing internal outreach programs, assisting with employee wellness initiatives, managing community partnerships. But Claire poured her heart into it. Her ideas weren't flashy, but they were real, rooted in experience. One day, in a meeting with senior staff, she suggested something simple. Why not offer job shadow days for single parents returning to work? Sometimes confidence is the only missing piece. Silence. Then Matt, Mr. Steele, nodded. Let's make that happen. Word started to spread. The CEO was personally mentoring a new hire. Rumors flew, but Claire kept her head down. She wasn't here for office gossip. She was here to change things for people like her. And slowly, she was. One afternoon, as she and Matt reviewed a community housing proposal, he paused. You do know this isn't charity, right? He said. She looked up. You're not here because I felt sorry for you. You're here because you belong. You're shaping the future of this company. Claire smiled. It still felt unreal. But maybe, for once, it was real. She went home that night, tucked Lily in, and whispered, Things are going to be different now, baby. Because for the first time in forever, they were. 6 months into her role, Claire stood before a packed conference room, nervously clutching her note cards. Executives, board members, even local press were present. She wasn't just a guest anymore. She was presenting a company-wide initiative she helped build. Northbridge Cares, a support program for working parents, survivors of domestic hardship, and people re-entering the workforce. She glanced at Matt seated near the front. He gave a small nod. You've got this. Claire cleared her throat. I'm not here as a business expert, she began. I'm here as someone who knows what it's like to fall between the cracks. She shared her story, not as a sob story, but as a blueprint for hope. She talked about job applications that went unanswered, skipped meals, hiding overdue notices from her daughter. And then, someone knocked at my door. Or maybe I opened mine. Either way, we both walked through something new. By the end, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. The program passed unanimously. And the story, Claire's story, made its way to a local news outlet, then national blogs. People were calling her inspiring, brave, even a trailblazer. But Claire never let it change her. She still packed Lily's lunches by hand. Still wore secondhand blouses with pride. Still showed up early, stayed late, and checked on the janitorial staff like they were family. Because she knew what it meant to be overlooked. Now, she was helping rewrite that script for others. One night, as she left the office, Matt walked beside her. You've changed this place, Claire, he said. She smiled. No, you did. You just needed a reminder. He chuckled. Well, you were a powerful one. Exactly 1 year from the night Claire opened her door to a stranger, she found herself standing in front of a ribbon-wrapped building, Northbridge Community Empowerment Center. Built in a once-forgotten neighborhood, it offered free childcare, job training, therapy, and a safe space for anyone trying to rebuild. Claire had helped design every inch of it. Lily, now 7 and proudly wearing a future CEO pin, stood beside her as Claire cut the ribbon to cheers and applause. Behind her, Matt watched quietly, hands in his pockets, eyes filled with pride. Later that evening, as the crowd dispersed and twilight settled, Claire walked into the now empty center and found Matt alone in the main hall. You did it, he said. She shook her head. We did it. He smiled. It started with one decision. You opened your door to someone you didn't know. You offered help when you had nothing to spare. That's the kind of leadership we need in this world. Claire paused, emotion rising. You know, I used to pray for a break. Not a miracle. Just a chance. Matt looked at her gently. And when it came, you didn't use it just for yourself. You turned it into something bigger. They stood in silence for a moment, soaking it all in. Then Claire added quietly, maybe the real miracle wasn't the job. Or the money. Maybe it was just being seen. Matt nodded. And believed in. She looked around the center, filled with hope, healing, and new beginnings. It all started with a knock. And a yes. A single act of kindness that echoed louder than either of them ever imagined. And for the first time in a long time, Claire didn't feel like a struggling single mom anymore. She felt like a builder of futures.